El Salvador just made a huge decision that could change the adoption of crypto worldwide. After making Bitcoin a legal currency in 2021, they just dropped it. Expats, investors, and crypto enthusiasts are thinking, what's next? If you're thinking about moving to El Salvador as a crypto destination, you need to hear this first. After I spent nearly 3 months on the ground in El Salvador, while Bitcoin was actually legal tender, I saw firsthand that the experiment was not what people expected. Let's break down exactly what this means for expats, digital nomads, and crypto investors who were betting big on Bitcoin in El Salvador. Back in 2021, El Salvador made history by becoming the first country to legally adopt Bitcoin as an official currency alongside the US dollar. President Nayib Bukele promised that this move would bring about financial freedom, investment, and economic growth to the country. At first, Bitcoin adoption looked promising. There were businesses accepting Bitcoin, there was a government-sponsored crypto wallet called Chivo, and even incentives like the Golden Visa for crypto investors bringing in Bitcoin. But here's the thing, it never really took off. Most Salvadorans never used Bitcoins in their daily lives. While I was there, I only saw massive supermarkets with signs showing that they accept Bitcoin, whereas for the small tienditas, that's not even an option. Realistically, many businesses didn't accept the Bitcoin. And the government-controlled app had many glitches. In fact, I made a video about going to the Bitcoin beach in El Salvador, and I tried to actually ask the people if I could use Bitcoin to pay for some of my things. Most of the places at Bitcoin Beach, they actually accepted the Bitcoin payment. But not every single place. Outside of Bitcoin Beach, it was not really that big of a thing. From street vendors to taxis to even some large businesses, people refused Bitcoin or just had no idea how to process it. According to reports, over 80% of Salvadorans stopped using Bitcoin after receiving their initial $30 Chivo wallet bonus from the government. And despite Bitcoin's crash going down to $15,000 in 2022, the currency has recently reached all-time highs at around $109,000, which is partially due to the enthusiasm from the Trump administration and their crypto-friendly policies going into government in the United States. So, with Bitcoin at nearly all-time highs, why is El Salvador giving up on Bitcoin now? Well, one major reason is the IMF. For those that don't know, IMF stands for the International Monetary Fund, and they give massive loans to countries to help them develop. The IMF has been pushing El Salvador to drop Bitcoin since day one. And now that El Salvador has recently secured a $1.4 billion loan, it's no surprise that El Salvador is quietly dropping Bitcoin as its legal tender. Bukele has shifted his focus from crypto to big tourism and tech investments, likely because he realized that Bitcoin wasn't driving the economic boom that he had hoped for. If you're an expat or crypto investor who was excited about living in El Salvador because of Bitcoin, this news changes a lot. If you were paying rent, buying groceries, or running a business on Bitcoin, expect things to get even harder now. Most businesses weren't using it anyways. But with this change, even the ones that were using Bitcoin might phase it out completely. El Salvador even offered a Bitcoin residency visa for crypto investors. While that program still exists, it might become less attractive now that Bitcoin is no longer legal tender. The IMF has always pushed for more financial controls in El Salvador. Could this mean new regulations on crypto exchanges, higher taxes, or even restrictions on Bitcoin transactions? It's something to watch closely. On the one hand, El Salvador doesn't tax foreign income and Bukele is keeping a pro-tech stance. But on the other hand, Bitcoin's legal status being downgraded means the country isn't crypto paradise like some had hoped for. So what does this mean for the future of Bitcoin adoption in other countries? For example, I remember going to Bitcoin meetups and Bitcoin coffee shops in Honduras in the island of Roatan when I spent my month there. The surrounding countries seem to also really embrace this type of technological change. But returning to El Salvador, it just proves one thing. Just making Bitcoin legal tender just isn't enough. Other countries considering Bitcoin as an official currency, for example, the ones I just mentioned, are now going to think twice. And if Bukele, the most crypto-friendly president in the entire world, is moving away from Bitcoin, is Bitcoin really ready to be a national currency? So now, I want to hear from you. Would you still move to El Salvador after this news? Do you think other countries will follow? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see more of my perspective, experiences, and videos about living abroad in Latin America as an American, go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. And if you want to see any of my motorcycle videos, you can jump onto my other channel called Moto Nomad Eric. Okay, hasta la próxima.